Hello and welcome to American Focus. I am Dan McCaleb, Executive Editor of the Center Square Newswire service. Joining me today is Casey Harper, the Center Square's Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief. Busy week again in Washington, D.C. Casey, the U.S. House Oversight Committee this week said that the Treasury Department is going to provide their committee with access to Hunter Biden's overseas economic activities after months of delays. You reported on that. What's going on here?
As you alluded to, the House Oversight Committee is releasing more details, and it's not pretty. And it's, this is one of those stories that I've kind of wondered for a while if they're actually going to ever find anything, because sometimes these House investigations, there's a lot of bluster. They say, a lot of things, and it drags on, and nothing ever really happens. But I think they may really have something this time, because they're going after, I think probably because Hunter Biden may have been really sloppy. And of course, this is still allegations on some of this. Hunter Biden is under investigation from the FBI, has been. So it's not entirely, just fabricated, but these are still allegations. Some of this has to still go through the courts if it does make it to the courts. But what we found out this week is that the Oversight Committee said that actually $3 million came from China through these accounts, and $1.3 million of it landed in a Biden family member account. This is money coming directly from China. I've seen reports that it was a member of the CCP. We can't verify that yet. Chinese money coming to the Biden family to the tune of $1.3 million, according to the House Oversight Committee. So this is no small thing. What this really is there's a lot of accounts, a lot of money being moved around from around the world to this network of family members and associates within the Biden network. Investigators are just now starting to get to the bottom of it. And so it's going to be really interesting to see as more and more of these suspicious activity reports, which the Treasury Department finally just handed over.
Speaking of the timing, Hunter Biden, of course, is the son of President Joe Biden. Some scrutiny was placed on the influence that China might have on the Biden family shortly before the 2020 presidential election, when the New York Post broke a story about Hunter Biden's laptop and all the information that was contained on there. The mainstream media, social media outlets like Twitter, suppressed that story at the time, calling it fake news, misinformation, things like that. But as we've learned over time that it was not fake news, we won't ever know what impact it had on the 2020 presidential election. But now, as more information comes out, it does have more people scratching their heads. Maybe there's something more in a deeper investigation.
You're right about that. I mean, we saw how Hillary Clinton's FBI investigation just days before that election could have cost her the election to Donald Trump. So it's no small thing, the way that everyone rallied and got around Biden. I think it's actually for that very reason, because of what happened to Hillary, is why everyone's, circled the wagons for Biden. In the establishment media, in social media, big tech companies, which are mostly liberal, because they didn't want Trump to win re-election, right? So I think that was coordinated. And there's even evidence now that the FBI warned these big tech companies that the story was coming and that they thought it was not true. So even the FBI was at some level involved in this, whether they knew that they were promoting something that wasn't true or whether they were just wrong about that. We don't know. We may never know. But there was a big effort across multiple sectors to keep this story quiet. The reasoning for that, the stated reasoning at least, was because it wasn't true. But now more and more evidence seems like there's definitely something here. The president of the United States has all this money flowing into his family and his friends' accounts leading up to his election. And
the big concern is whether it's Hunter Biden or another member of the family, if they have significant financial interests in China, would that impact President Biden's stance on Chinese issues?
There could be even legal thing hanging over the family. And that's kind of what we're trying to get to the bottom of. Could the Biden's decisions be impacted by some group of businessmen overseas who have some dirt on him? That may sound a little far-fetched, but that's exactly the kind of thing that was said about former President Trump in regards to all the Russia stuff. But when that came out, everyone was saying, oh, these people overseas or Russians have something on Trump. Trump is on a leash because they have some kind of dirt on him. And so this isn't just a political attack. And this is the exact same thing that was speculated about Trump just a few years ago.
So, Casey, you're working on maybe a little deeper dive on this story for a weekender. Can you tease that story for us a little bit? You still have some work to do on it, I know.
I think what you probably can pick up from this podcast as a listener is that there's a lot of unanswered questions. And so we'll see how much closer I'm able to get. But I'm going to be writing about this today and for weeks to come. And I think the political implications is really interesting to me. I think it's interesting that the Treasury Department just now agreed to hand all this over, because there's a lot of speculation that within the Democrat establishment, the Democrats are actually done with Biden and want to move on to a different candidate because of Biden's age and other reasons. So
you raise a good point. We're less than 2 years away from the next presidential election. While Biden has teased that he plans on running again, there's a lot of opposition, at least behind closed doors, to that among the Democratic Party. Could this be the straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak, and pushes him out of the race? Who knows?
Those are the kind of questions we're going to be digging into at thecentersquare.com over the next few months.
For Casey Harper, I'm Dan McCaleb. Please subscribe, and thank you for listening.